I am live. Oh, hey, there's people online. Hey. Hello, how are you? Can you hear me? Oh, look, it says I'm live. Wow, got 6 people already. Hello, Dr. Oh, Lolly, how are you from France? Dr. Noy, hello, Dr. Noy, where are you from? What are we going to talk about today? Oh, good. Glad to hear that. So what is everyone doing on the weekend? I guess it's the weekend here in Vietnam. I imagine a lot of people are still sleeping or just waking up on Saturday in some parts of the world. Dr. Noy in Thailand. Cool. Where in Thailand are you? I have not been to Thailand for a very long time. I think I went in 2001 and then again in 2003, I think. Who else is online? I got 5 users online. 4 now, 1 left. So what's everybody doing? What are we going to talk about? It's Saturday night here in Da Nang, 5:08 p.m. Anybody online? Can you hear me? No one's typing any messages. So I'm going to talk about random stuff like, I don't know, what did I eat today? This is a little weird talking to myself. So today I had a hot dog. It was pretty good. I went to a butcher nearby and I bought a wiener and some bread. And I had a hot dog, sort of. It was a hamburger bun, but it was a hot dog wiener. So it was a ham dog. It was all right. It was all right. Maybe next time I do a live stream, I should plan on having a topic so that I can talk about something while I'm waiting for people to type messages. Nobody has any questions or something that they would like to share? This is I went to the hospital yesterday, no, 2 days ago. And I had a thing removed from my head. No one's typing anything. I have 5 users on. I'd love to know where you are. Where are you from? Where are you right now? What are you doing? I don't know if my message thing is broken because I'm not getting any messages at all from anyone. So I don't know if it's broken or if people are not typing any messages. Let's test it. Let's test it. Does this work? My message seems to show up. Okay. This is starting to feel awkward. I don't know what to talk about. So, maybe this is a bad time to do live streaming. Maybe I should do it at a different time when people are not busy. Okay, well, I guess I'll just surf the net while I wait for people to interact. If there's anybody there, let me know with a message so that I know I'm talking to someone. For now, I'll just wait. Oh. Thank you for the thumbs up, whoever gave me that. I don't know if the live chat is, honestly, is the live chat broken? If somebody's watching, can you send a message just to show me that it's working? Because I really don't know. It seems to not be working. Oh, hey. Okay, so chat is working. Hello, Mohammed. Thank you for thank you for leaving me a message. I'm good. How are you? What are you doing? Where are you? I guess I feel like when I'm talking into the camera, I always feel like I have to speak a little louder. And maybe I don't. Maybe my microphone's fine. There's nobody online. I wonder if, excuse me. Oh, I got two back online again. I'm going to test this to see what the delay is. Oh. Huh. Okay, so there seems to be a delay of about 5 seconds. Yeah. Okay. So, Mahmoud, where are you? Where are you located? What time is it over there? Oh, you're in the UK. So, what is it, like 10 a.m., 10:18 a.m. right now? How's the weather in the UK at the moment? Eleven 18 a.m., I guess. So you're 6 hours behind me. That's all? I'm going to bring up my Google map and see. I thought it would be more than that. I thought it would be like an 8-hour difference. Maybe not. Because I'm in Vietnam. And there's the United Kingdom. Oh, okay. Well, maybe. Maybe. Kind of makes sense, I guess. I am in Vietnam right now. Hello, Egypt. How are you? Yeah, I'm in Vietnam, in Da Nang, which is sort of the central part of the country. Down south, you have Ho Chi Minh, and up north, there's Hanoi. And Da Nang is kind of in the center. It's like a long, thin country that does kind of like this little S shape. And so I'm on the, just kind of on the outside of the S belly. Hello, Christina. Huntsville, Alabama? 5:18 a.m. Yeah, okay. 5:18 a.m. That makes sense. Why are you awake at this time? You're either getting up early for work or you're going to bed very late after partying. Here it is 5:20 now, 5:20 p.m. Wow. Can't sleep? Are you an insomniac? What made you click on my live stream? Because I'm guessing from your name, you're a native English speaker, right? And I think most of my regular viewers are studying English. Oh, cool. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. So you might find I speak a little bit slowly and a little bit clearly, and that's because really the purpose of this is mainly to help people with their English listening. Popped awake. I guess she just woke up, right? Is that right, Christina? You just kind of woke up for no reason, not because of an alarm? Well, thank you. I can always use more subscribers. I'm almost at 60,000 subscribers now. So very soon, in the next, I don't know, how many subscribers do I have now? I think it is, 59.9 thousand. So I'm within just a few days of 60,000. Thank you. Appreciate that. I had quite a few, and then things slowed down a lot because I kind of neglected my channel for 3 years. And so I ended up slowing down. I was still getting subscribers throughout that time, but it kind of slowed a lot. And unfortunately, if you're a YouTuber and you neglect your channel, you end up, a lot of people who are subscribed stay subscribed, but they don't get notifications anymore, or maybe they don't have any interest if they do. So now when I release videos, I get a lot fewer views than I used to. So that's a tough one, but got to get it back somehow. You watched my cooking show? Really? That's awesome. Yes, good butter. It makes a difference, right? When you eat, if you're eating just bread and butter, you have to have good bread and good butter. I mean, it's just 2 ingredients. But butter is not really something that most people think about. You know, I mean, butter is butter, right? It all tastes the same. So I'm glad someone is enjoying my cooking lessons. Did you, which recipe was that with the bread and the butter? Which recipe was that? Was that the, which recipe did I do for that one? That wasn't the guacamole. That was something else. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? Guacamole. Was that the pasta recipe? Yeah, my knives were dull. I finally sharpened my knives. Yes. Now I have sharp knives, which is nice. So much better to work with. I went out and I bought a knife sharpener. And then I guess I wasn't using it right. So I was sharpening, and then my knife was even more dull than before. And I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong with me? I can't sharpen a knife. Now, finally, I figured it out, and now I have sharp knives. Oh, well, thank you. Chop, 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 chop. See, that's a lot of practice. No, I'm kidding. I didn't lose this from a knife. So have you tried some of my recipes? Wait, what recipe? I have guacamole. I have to say, my guacamole is the best I've ever eaten. I've tried, when I was in Canada, I bought at the supermarket little packs of guacamole. Never any good. I've tried guacamole in restaurants. Better, but for some reason, the guacamole I make myself is, it's just delicious. For me. I don't know if other people would like it as much. And I'm the same way with hummus. I love hummus, but I've never found hummus made elsewhere that's as good as the hummus I make myself at home. Where am I from? I'm from Canada, Toronto area. I've lived in and around Toronto for my whole life until I went to Japan. And then I lived in Japan for many, many years. And now I don't know if I can say I'm living here, but I don't plan to be here forever or for even a very, very long time. I'll probably start traveling again after COVID restrictions are lifted. So, but anyway, I guess for now, I'm living in Vietnam. But yeah, from Toronto area. Okay, so let me see here. Christina is from Alabama. I've got Mahmoud is in the UK. M7MD. Where are you from, M7MD? I've got 5 viewers right now. Cool. I'm going to guess. I think I know who 3 of them are. There are 2 that are just kind of lurking and hiding, staying quiet. Maybe they're shy. That's okay. I understand. I'm kind of shy too, sometimes. Oh, well, at least I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Let me just turn off the notifications on my phone here. Yeah, when I lost my finger, I remember when I was, yeah, butter, that's a good one. Definitely a good piece of advice to follow. What kind of butter do you buy now, by the way? Like, is there a brand that you go for? And is it a lot more expensive? So my finger. So when I lost my finger, I was 13 years old. And I was off from school for a week because the day I lost it, they did an operation and they tried to reattach it. Oh, yes, right. I'm sorry. You said that, M7MD. I'm just going to call you M right now. It's shorter. Right, Egypt. What time is it in Egypt? So I was off for a week because they tried to reattach the finger, but it didn't take, so it didn't work very well, and the finger turned black. You know, it was full of gangrene. So after about a week of that, then they said, okay, we have to take it off. 12:30 p.m. So they took off the finger, and then I was in a cast for a week, I believe, if I recall correctly. They put my whole hand, my whole arm was in a cast, kind of weird, just to protect the tip of my finger. And then after they removed the cast, yeah, it was a little funny because there were some stitches in the end of my finger. And the stitches were little blue plastic Kerrygold. I've never heard of that one. It must be an American brand. Wait, I feel like maybe I have heard the name before, but I don't think I've seen it. Here in Vietnam, they have a lot of butters from France. And those are the expensive butters. And they are expensive because they're like They're probably about $5 US for 200 grams, for half a pound, less than half a pound. So anyway, so after my finger surgery, I had little blue pieces of nylon, I guess is what they use for the stitches, the sutures. And so I don't remember how many, maybe 7 or 8 little pieces of blue plastic sticking up, like one up this way, one up, one up, one up, one up. And so what I did was I drew a little face, like 2 eyes and a mouth on my finger. And I'd be like, oh, hello, because it looked like it had like little blue cartoon hair. And I would kind of have fun with my classmates. But some of my classmates were kind of freaked out about my finger. Just, they couldn't get over it. They're like, ah. And so with them, I had more fun because I'm like, there was this one girl, I think her name was Maureen, I don't remember. But she would really freak out every time she saw my finger. And I'd be like, oh, hey, Maureen. Ah! And I'd show her my finger and she'd freak out and run away. It was hilarious. Yes, I remember making that video in Malaysia. Yes, that was fun. Malaysia's great. A lot of good food, really nice people. Unfortunately, I haven't spent a lot of time there. Only, I've been to Malaysia 3 times, I think, yeah. Once for like 2 days back in 2014. And then last year, well, I guess 2019 and 2020. And in 2019, I was there only for a week. And in 2020, when I went back, I was there for 10 days, I think. So I haven't spent a lot of time in Malaysia. And oh, there was one more time I went, but not to Kuala Lumpur. It was up north in, it was in Langkawi. So beach destination, really nice. And yeah, I've only ever had good times in Malaysia. Malaysia's great. I definitely recommend it. Really great people. You know, traumatic. I mean, it was a shock, honestly. Like having your finger removed from your hand is probably some kind of trauma or traumatic experience, but quite honestly, not really. So the day the accident happened, it was on farm equipment, and the piece of equipment, it had a metal bar with holes in it, and I put my fingers in there, not knowing that the bar moved. And then when the bar did move, it caught my finger and ripped it off. Basically, kind of not really cut so much as tore it out of its joint socket and then ripped, the skin away, but kind of semi-cut, semi-rip. So of course I yelled, I screamed, I'm like, ah! Showed it to my dad. I'm like, ah! My dad's like, ah! Got to go to the hospital. So yes, I was freaking out at the fact that, sort of. So I guess I'll tell the story. I'm thinking of doing an actual video telling this story. But so when it happened, my father and I were in a neighboring field. I grew up at that time. It was a farm, kind of a large farm. And my father and I were doing some farm work, or rather I was just kind of hanging out with him and he was doing the farm work. And so when the accident happened, the first thing we did was to get back to the house, which was, I don't know, half a mile away. So immediately we came out of the field and we knocked on the neighbor's door, and my dad said, "Hey, Bill, my son got hurt. We need a ride to the house. And so we took his truck, went to the house. And one thing I noticed immediately is it didn't really hurt. It was just like, why isn't this hurting? Why isn't it painful? And I'm not a tough guy. I don't like pain. I hate pain. So I'm like, why isn't this painful? And so we get to my house and we tell my mom, okay, we need to go to the hospital. And the hospital is 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away. So my mom gets in, and at the time, so this is kind of weird. At the time, the only vehicle we had was a van, because again, we were on a farm, and we needed the types of vehicles to transport fruits and vegetables for market. So all we had at that time was a van, and this van only had 2 seats in the front, 2 bucket seats. So 1 bucket seat for my dad to drive and the other bucket seat for my mom to sit. But wait, where am I going to sit? So usually I would sit in the back. We put this little plastic chair. This was in the old days before people really cared about safety too much in cars, right? So I would normally sit in a plastic chair, but this day, after such a terrible accident, I sat on my mother's lap, which was, I'm 13 years old. I'm a little old for sitting in my mother's lap, but I just had my finger ripped off, so I'll act like a little baby. That's okay. So I'm kind of sitting on my mom's lap because there's nowhere else to sit. And as we're driving to the hospital, I'm looking at my finger. I'm kind of pulling it up off of my hand, and I'm looking inside. I'm like, oh, look at that. And my mother is like, stop doing that. That's terrible. Don't do that. And I'm like, why doesn't it hurt? Oh, look, it's not really. And I remember being surprised because my finger was not completely cut off. It didn't fall off. It was still attached by a ligament or a tendon or whatever it is that attaches, the bones together. And so I was kind of lifting my finger up and showing my mom, like, look, it's still attached. It's not really cut off completely. And she would get angry and tell me to stop. And it didn't hurt until we got to the hospital. And then I guess this was probably 45 minutes, an hour after the accident happened. We're at the hospital and they gave me some shot of morphine, I guess, something. And then the pain started to come back. And I remember, telling them it hurts. And they said, yeah, we already gave you a shot. Just wait a few minutes. I said, no, it's not helping. It's getting worse and it's getting worse. And they said, well, okay, we'll give you a bit more, but that should take care of it. So I said, okay, please give me more. So they gave me more, but it didn't help. It continued, the pain continued to grow. And I said, I need more, this still hurts. And they said, we already gave you too much. We gave you an adult dose and you're only 13, we can't give you more. I said, well, it hurts, so do something. So finally, after a while, I went into surgery. So they put me to sleep. So at that point, I was okay. And then I woke up and they had tried to reattach it, but it didn't work. So just to go back to the previous point, was it a shock? Yes. Was it fun? No, not so much. But it wasn't really that big a deal. And at that point, I was just scared. I mean, I was just like, my finger, parts of my body are not supposed to come off. They should be, I should be one, you know? So I was kind of scared a little bit, like what's going to happen to my finger, but not really. I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then, you know, woke up after the surgery and okay, so now the finger is reattached. Let's see what happens. So that's what we did. But over the next few days, my finger turned black. And like I said, it was covered with a cast. Oh, right. That's when they covered. Yeah. So they had the cast up to here, right? So my whole arm was in a cast. And then they had that one piece of cast over my finger to protect it. And I could still see my finger like through the side because they didn't cover the whole finger. They just went around it as a protection. And I could smell my finger 2 or 3 days after. I could see my finger was turning black. Wait, I'm kind of mixing up some memories here because I remember tapping the end of my finger because there was a pin in my finger to hold it there. And I remember seeing the pin at the top kind of stick out. So instead of just round, it was round, but you know, it was like, you know, with a pin kind of sticking out because my finger was shrinking. My finger was dehydrating and turning black and turning, you know, gangrenous. So there was gangrene, it was turning black, it was smelling terrible. And so I knew after, you know, maybe 3 or 4 days, I knew that I was going to lose my finger. There was no other option. The finger was dead. So then a week after the first surgery, went back to the hospital, and the doctor was a jerk, though. I really, you know, I don't know if it was the same doctor. I probably was, but the doctor that I saw that day, he was a jerk. And I still remember going in, and he was cutting off the cast, but he took off the cast really roughly. It was very rough with it. And I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts, you know? And he just looked at it, and with absolutely no sympathy at all, he looked at the finger and he said, oh yeah, that's coming off. Just like that. Oh yeah, that's coming off. And that is, I think, the moment where I felt the greatest sadness. Is it wasn't even that I was losing my finger so much as how he said it. It was so emotionless and absolutely not, it was so unfeeling, unsympathetic. And I just kept thinking, that's not how you tell a 13-year-old kid they're going to lose their finger. What a jerk. So after that, I walked out with my dad, and that was the only time that I cried about my finger, because I wasn't being tough. It wasn't that big a deal until that moment where it became real that I was losing my finger. It was definitive. It was the decision was, you know, absolute at this point. And so that was a bit of okay, so I'm really actually losing my finger. But I think if the doctor had been just a little bit nicer, I may not have cried. I don't know. That was half of what made me cry. I was telling my dad, we were walking out, and I'm like, the doctor was such a jerk. He was such a jerk about this. He wasn't nice about it at all. So anyway, so I had my little cry, And then I don't recall if it was the next day, but anyhow. So we did the amputation, the surgery where they take off the finger. And then after that, I still had my arm in a cast. I believe maybe I'm straightening out my memories here, but I think the second cast was just up to here. I don't honestly, I'm not sure right now. I don't remember, but anyway, I don't know if there was a protective thing. There was. I don't know. My memory's playing tricks on me right now, but anyhow, so there was a week of that, and then, yeah. So I was off school for 2 weeks. Sorry, for those 2 weeks while my finger healed, and then when I went back to school, I had the blue nylon sutures sticking out, so I'm drawing little faces on it, and it was never really that traumatic of an experience. I mean, yeah, it sucked. It was not fun. I wouldn't do it again just because I'm bored. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not something I would tell kids to go and do, but it really wasn't that big a deal for me. And I think part of it is I was lucky because it was on my left hand, not my right hand. I'm right-handed. And also it's not my thumb, so really this little bit here, I mean, yes, there's some use for it, but it's not critical. It takes a little bit of the strength away. Like if I'm doing pull-ups or something like that, it's hard. That little bit of finger makes a big difference in your grip strength. Even though my right arm would be stronger than my left arm, even with all my fingers, this removed a little bit of the strength even more. So, so for most of my life, I try to, if I'm carrying shopping bags, I'll try to carry the heavier bags in my left hand to try to balance out the strength. It doesn't really make a difference, I don't think, but so that's the story. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think that it was really that traumatic of an experience for me. It was like, yeah, whatever. And I was in grade 8 at the time. And the following year I went into high school and I signed up for typing class. And I don't think I even thought about my finger, really. I type differently. Instead of using this finger, I replace my typing with my index sometimes. Well, now I trained myself to use this one instead. So the movement's a little bit different than somebody who types with all 10 fingers, but it's pretty much, I mean, I type like 60 words a minute or something. It's not a real impediment. I do remember one day, because I was not a good student. I was just a bad student. I didn't pay attention in class. I, goofed off with my friends. So I was not a good student, generally speaking. And one day my typing teacher got angry, took me aside, and she said, "Sil, you don't pay attention in class, and you have to pay attention in class." And then she got really upset because she said, "You don't understand. They were not going to let you in my class." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, because the principal of the school, when you signed up for this class, the principal said that I have to reject you." What are you talking about? Why? And she said, "Because of your finger. And they were worried that you wouldn't be able to, pass the course and that it would affect you. And so they didn't want to admit you to my class." And I fought to accept you in my typing class. And I'm like, I didn't know about this. She said, oh, of course, we didn't tell anybody, but this was the conversation behind the scenes. So, so don't be a little rat, like be a good student and at least, make an effort to pass my class. So, oh, okay. So from that day on, I was a better student in typing class, not my other classes. Yes, so let me go, I'll go back over some of my comments here. M7, no, I have never been to the Middle East, unfortunately. Yeah, I'd love to go someday. After lockdowns are up and I can start traveling again, then maybe the Middle East will be a possibility at some point, I hope. Yeah, it was, it's a story that I think a lot of other people, when they imagine themselves, at that time, I had friends, this was weird. I had a couple of friends, not close friends, the friends that you kind of see every once in a while. But I had a couple of friends that I had not seen for quite a long time that I met just by chance. And one guy, he was like, oh, wow, that's rough. Like losing a finger, that I'd kill myself. I'm like, what? You're going to kill yourself for losing a finger? Are you stupid? What? What a dumb comment. It's like, oh, that's crazy, man. I don't know how you deal with it. Like, it's really not that big a deal. Well, everybody handles it differently. I don't know, maybe somebody else who loses a finger. If I was a musician or if I was a surgeon, I think the bigger difference is I was still quite young. If I was to lose my finger now, it probably wouldn't be that big. My brother lost fingers maybe about 5 years ago. He lost the tips of 2 of his fingers. And when I heard about it, I laughed. I'm like, what? So I lose 1 finger, you have to lose 2 just to prove you're better than me? So it was kind of a joke. Sorry, I'll go back down the comments here. So no, I've never been to the Middle East. AMR, is that correct? No, my glasses. AMR. I don't know how to pronounce AMR. Amir, I'm going to guess. Amir Fayaz. Psychological flexibility. Well, I think everybody does to some extent, because I think some people, they imagine how they would feel to have something traumatic happen to them or some big change. And they don't really, you can't know how you're going to feel until it really happens or something very similar happens. And if you've never lost a limb, a finger, a hand, a leg or something, I can't imagine what it would feel like to lose my arm or a leg. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know if I could adapt to that very well or not. But I do know what it feels like to lose a finger. And I think when people, they see someone with a missing finger or whatever, I think they imagine it to be much worse than it actually is in real life. They think, oh, but again, I don't know. Maybe it depends on the person and where you are in life and your basic personality. None of this was conscious for me at that time. At that time, I didn't decide to be okay with my finger. It was just how I worked. I was like, oh, playing with it, which was kind of fun on the way to the hospital. And then after that, it's like, okay, I lost a finger, but, doesn't really affect my life very much. I was lucky. in only losing this. You know, I can still, oh, probably the one part that freaked me out a little bit was the first time that I grabbed a glass with my left hand after my surgery. I was reaching up on the cupboard in the kitchen, and there was a glass, you know, an empty glass. And I reached it and I grabbed the glass, and because there's no finger here, my brain interpreted the sensation or the lack of sensation as the glass was broken. So when I grabbed the glass and I took it, and immediately my brain automatically thought that there was that the glass was broken, or that there was a hole in the glass and that my finger slipped through. And I just got a quick scare because mentally I thought, I'm going to cut myself. So that was kind of a, you know, a surprising thing to get used to. But yeah, that didn't take long. So cast or gauze? Well, I guess a little of both. I had the cast to hold my, I think just to protect me from banging my hand around, or from using, I think they wanted to prevent me from using my hand. I think that was probably the biggest reason for the cast. I don't know. You'd have to ask a doctor if that makes sense. But I feel like there was no need. I had no broken bones. The only problem I had was this. So there was no need for a cast at all in terms of isolating movement of my wrist. So I think it was maybe a question of limiting my ability to use my hand. I don't know. That's my best guess. But of course, there would be gauze as well to whatever, soak up any blood or to give it a bit of padding as well, I'm guessing. Hello, Alicia. How are you? If you're still online, thanks for joining. Christina, yes, I am right-handed. I once thought it might be an idea to learn to play guitar. And when I hold the guitar, naturally, just what feels natural to me, it's like nearly everybody else, you know, fret in the left hand and strumming with the right hand. But the problem is, with this finger gone, there are chords that I couldn't learn how to do. So, you know, I tried to work around it, but it wasn't as easy as typing. With typing, it was no problem. With guitar, it was a real issue because this little finger here is fat, right? It's not, there's no tip, there's no narrow tip like this one. This one has a big fat tip. So isolating one string to a fret was very difficult. And of course, I couldn't do like a bar chord, right? When you put your whole finger across the entire neck. So I took my guitar to the guitar shop, the music store, and I asked them to reverse the strings so that I could hold the guitar and strum like this. Wow, I was shocked at how difficult it is to strum with my left hand. It was impossible. It was going just like this. It's very natural. But like this, it's like, oh, like my hand was doing circles. It was crazy. I'm like, this is insane. I can, you know, do this with both hands easily. And I'm right-handed. This feels more like intricate. You know, the movements are more precise. And so I thought maybe this would be easier with my right hand. Surprisingly, doing that with the right or left is easy. The strumming, which looks like the easy part, is actually the hard part. I can do it with my right hand, but I can't do it with my left hand. I tried, and you know, probably if I stuck with it for years and years, I probably would have figured it out. But yeah, I don't want to learn how to play guitar that badly. It was for fun. And when it stopped being fun and started being actual work, I'm like, yeah, no, forget it. I don't need to play guitar that badly. So, thank you. Yeah, it's a fun story. It's a fun story. I guess that's a weird way to talk about losing a finger, but it's a story, you know. Sometimes things seem like bad events, but they turn out to be stories, and you can have a lot of fun with stories for the rest of your life. Habib, hello from Afghanistan. Hi, Afghanistan. How are you? Thank you for joining. Faustino from Mexico. Hey, Faustino. Thanks for joining. How's my speaking? Am I speaking too fast for most of you, or is it just right? Is it too slow? How do you feel about my speed? Lisa, okay, I'm glad you're still on. Enjoy the story. Should I do a separate video about that? Maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, hello, South Korea. How are you? 안녕하세요. That's all the Korean I have. 안녕하세요 is all I know. Perfect. I can't read those. It looks Chinese, right? How should I read those characters? Doesn't look Japanese. No, I'm pretty sure that's Chinese. I can read some Japanese, but I can't read any Chinese. Fish. Is that how I pronounce that? Fish? I say, hello, fish? That can't be right. Do I speak Spanish? Un poquito. No, not really. I mean, I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13. I can count a little bit, like up to 20. Well, I guess I can count past 20 because it's a repetition, right? 21, 21, 22, 23, 20, 21. Sorry, 21. Is it 21, 22, 23, 24? Cuatro. I don't know. I get confused. And I picked up like seriously a handful of words when I went to Mexico a couple of times. Like, of course, you know, gracias and sí, no, but I really don't speak Spanish. Sadly, I've always wanted to learn it, but I don't speak it. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mahmoud. Really? Oh, that's great. Lisha, where are you from? I'm sorry if you've told me before. I apologize. I have a bad memory. So thank you. Fish? Oh, wow. Christina, you were in Korea for 8 months. Very cool. Okay, Lisha, Germany. Many Germans speak English quite well, right? Are you studying English? Oh, Taiwan. I've been to Taiwan. I was there in 2019. Great. I would love to go back. The food, so much good food. Really nice people. It's funny, everywhere I've been, actually, I've met so many really nice people. Like everywhere. I haven't been anywhere where people were not nice and friendly. So, Faustino, I would love to. I was actually thinking about going to Mexico. A few months ago, I was like, okay, well, if we can fly out of Vietnam, maybe I can go to Canada, visit my family and friends a little bit, and then go to Mexico. Excuse me. But I was reading that in Mexico, the COVID is in a pretty bad situation. So I just, yeah, for now, until the situation in Mexico dies down, I don't really want to go and put myself in a position where I'm likely to get COVID. I mean, I'm not super scared of it, but there just doesn't seem to be any reason to get it if I don't need to. So for now, I'm comfortable here in Vietnam. It's a great place to be, fabulous weather, beach nearby, really nice people. And it's COVID safe. There's pretty much almost no COVID here. So why go anywhere? And it's cheap to live, you know, very, very low cost of living. So I'm in no rush to leave at the moment. And it'll depend on the situation. So I keep looking at my screen. Is that odd? Should I look up here? If I look down here, is it weird? I don't know. But anyway, so no real reason to leave here right now. So for now, I'll stick around. And once the situation, calms down in regards to COVID, then yeah, I'd love to go back to Mexico for a while. That would be great. I was there, when was I there? 1994, 3, hang on, 92. I went there in 92. And I went there, I think it might have been 94. I forget the year now exactly. But I've been there twice. The first time was Acapulco. The second time was Puerto Vallarta. It was great. Both holidays were fantastic. And I would love to go back. Love to go back. How was Korea, Christina? You were there. Why only 8 months? Why didn't you stay a little longer? Thank you, Fish. I'm glad you like my class. Well, my lessons, I guess, my lessons online. So, Lisha, you're in Germany, and I think yeah. So you're Chinese, based in Germany. Wow, for more than 25 years. So, were you born in China, or were you born in Germany with Chinese parents? Yeah, where are you, Faustino? Where in Mexico are you currently? Jihoon, next week is my midterm test week in university. Really? Good luck with that. I hope you do well and you pass with flying colors. Yeah, Christina, it's hard to ask for more. Honestly, I was very lucky to be here when the lockdowns happened because, I mean, okay, so here in Da Nang, from about March-ish, I guess February, March is really when it warms up. So in March, it starts to really warm up. Like the end of February, early March, that's when you don't need more than a t-shirt anymore. And all the way to about October, September, it's fabulous weather. At least last year, that's what I had. Amazing weather. Like, I mean, sunshine, sunshine, sunshine. Every day is hot, sunny. It's amazing. I mean, last summer, it rained so few times, I can barely remember any rain until about October. So every day, you want to go to the beach? Go to the beach. every day or nearly every day. It's incredible. 5 minutes from the beach, amazing weather, hot. Like, I mean, 32, 33, 34 degrees hot, not 26. It's hot. It's sunny. You got the beach. The beach is always there. Food is cheap. I can buy a smoothie for like $1.20, $1.50 US, less than $1.50 US. You got fresh fruit juice. You've got, if you like coffee, I'm not a coffee drinker, but apparently coffee here in Vietnam is amazing for coffee drinkers. You can get, not all food is super cheap, but you can get food at a very low cost. I mean, if you're on a budget, you don't have to spend a lot of money to eat pretty good food. Of course, if you want great food, you'll probably have to spend a bit more. That's fine. But yeah, it's a great place to be. Low cost of living, great weather, cheap rent, the beach, any food you want, pretty much. I mean, they've got, there's burgers and pizza everywhere. And some of that pizza is pretty good. And I've had a couple of good burgers too. You can get like pork, chicken, beef, of course, all the seafood you want. There's French food, Italian, Mexican. Best tacos I've ever had. Hang on. Okay, so I did go to Mexico twice, but that was so long ago, I honestly don't even remember if I had a taco. I do remember I had something called sincronizadas. I forget. I do remember thinking those things were really good, and I ate them several times. I don't remember whether or not I actually had a taco, believe it or not, when I was in Mexico. I must have, but I don't remember. So I'm not including my trip to Mexico. Outside of that, best taco that I can recall having was here in Da Nang. They've got this pork taco at this one place called Tacos Da Nang. And the beef taco is good, but the pork taco, I bite into the pork taco and I'm like, this is so good. And it's like, I have a few foods that kind of really just press all the right buttons. And that's one of them. It was so good, so good, so good. Anyway, sorry, I ramble sometimes about stuff. Okay, Alicia, so you're born in China. So did you grow up speaking German or Chinese or both? How old were you when you went to Germany? Oh, I think I missed something from Christina here. You were there. Oh, okay. So you were in Korea with your husband who was in the army and then he passed away. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. That sucks. Glad you enjoyed your time there, though. All right. Well, you have a coffee, and I'll have my Coke. I don't drink coffee, but this is my caffeine addiction right here. My Coke Zero. You're welcome, Fish. This kind of speaking is the best way to improve our listening. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes, that's when I was studying Japanese. That's how I got the idea for this, actually, is when I moved to Japan. I couldn't understand television because it's too fast. The vocabulary is too high level and the speed was too fast. And everybody said, oh, read children's books. Okay, so it sounds like a good idea, but I tried that. I bought children's books. Literally, I went to the bookstore and I bought a couple of children's books. Plus, at the school I worked, you know, we had grade 1 through 12. So, excuse me. So I got a couple of children's books given to me. Also, even my students, they said, "Oh, here's some books that I used to have when I was a kid. Try reading these." So the problem with children's books is they are children's stories. You know, yeah, I mean, I guess it's good reading practice. It was helping me learn katakana and hiragana. And there was, you know, a few basic kanji. The problem was the story is for kids. The story is for 5-year-olds. I'm not 5 years old. I have no interest in the story at all. Zero. So it's like telling an adult, you know, a 30-year-old, read Dr. Seuss to learn English. No, that's not. Who wants to read Dr. Seuss at 30 years old? Plus, if you're reading Dr. Seuss, you're going to waste a lot of mental energy learning words that are not really words. They're nonsense. They're just, you know, funny sounds together. So I don't recommend that. I mean, if you want to, great. But most people would fall asleep. I did. I was reading kids' books and I was falling asleep at like second page, 10 words. I'm like, I can't read this. It's not interesting. So I remember thinking, I can't read a kid's book. The language is the right level, but the story is not interesting to me at all. And I can't read a real book because the grammar and the vocabulary is too high. I can't watch TV because it's too fast. And I kept thinking what would be amazing is if they had the news or TV shows where the entire script was simplified and slowed down. So people spoke more slowly and more clearly and used very simple vocabulary and grammar instead of natural, you know, fast and difficult native grammar. And so that's how I started this whole channel, was doing that. Just, okay, this is what I want. It would have helped me learn Japanese so much faster. And I thought, you know, it's such a good idea. There must be a lot of people studying English who want the same thing. So I started the channel, and there are some people that want that. So that's good. Yay, I'm glad. Yes, yes. Yeah, all the Southeast Asian countries have something to offer. You know, I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to a few of them. I've been to, where have I been? So I don't know that Taiwan is considered Southeast Asian, but either way, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to China, I've been to the Philippines, I've been to Guam, although Guam is kind of technically American. I've been to Thailand, I've been to Malaysia, I've been to Indonesia. I have not been to Singapore. I have not been to Laos, Cambodia, or Myanmar. I was going to say Burma. Have not been to India, or, you know, I think, is there any other places that I've been to that I'm forgetting right now? Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, Taiwan. Haven't been to Korea yet. Haven't been to North Korea. Probably never will be. I think that's it. I don't think I'm forgetting any, but yeah, and each place is different from the other, and every place has, you know, good points about them that make it an interesting trip. So I hear you. I get it. Yeah, Ji Hoon. I have not heard about Vietnam's beach. You know what? It's funny. The first time, before my first time coming to Vietnam, I had no idea that Vietnam had beaches. The, the only thing I knew about Vietnam at that time, I didn't know anything really, but the only thing I had heard about Vietnam was jungles, right? Like the Vietnam War movies were always in Vietnamese jungles. So I had no idea that there were beaches. And I only discovered that when I was looking for a place to take a holiday back in, I think it was 2013, 2014, 2013. We were looking for a place to go that, you know, for like a beach holiday during Christmas season in Japan, because in Japan, Christmas season is boring. There's nothing going on. Well, on Christmas Eve, they have like, usually couples will go on it. It's almost like Valentine's Day, really. It's not about family. It's not about friends. It's Christmas Eve is the time to date your girlfriend or boyfriend if you're not married. If you are married, if you have kids, some families give gifts to their kids on Christmas. I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but some do, some don't. A lot of people just ignore Christmas. Like people go to work on Christmas Day. So Christmas is really not a big event except for that. It's not a real big event in Japan. And it's really boring if you have that time off. New Year's is a very quiet time for foreigners, really, because Japanese people tend to go back to their hometowns and they go to temple at midnight on New Year's Day. There's no, like, nobody's out partying. It's not a fun time. It's not like a fun time of year for people. It's really about family. New Year's is family, which is interesting because when I was in Canada before going to Japan, you know, Christmas is for family, New Year's is for parties. Whereas in Japan, it's not the exact opposite, but it's kind of the opposite. Christmas is for going out with your mate, and New Year's is all about family and connection and going to temple and stuff like that. So I was looking for a holiday and got online, and I was looking for a beach holiday, and Vietnam came up. I'm like, what? Vietnam? Why is this in my beach holiday? Like, I was expecting Philippines, Bali, Bali, Philippines, Guam. I was expecting these destinations, but I was not expecting Vietnam. And then Vietnam came up. I'm like, Vietnam has beaches? I had no idea. So we ended up going to Mui Ne. There, I guess there's Mui Ne is a little town, little beach, seaside town in Vietnam, very famous for kite surfing. So that was fun. I mean, it was windy, a little too windy, really, but it was all right. It was all right. The beach was too rough. I wouldn't recommend that place as a good place to go and relax. I think the beach here is better for just relaxed swimming, but the ocean in both places is a bit rough for just really chilling. Like, it's not those kinds of waves. It's a little bit more than that, but it's okay. I mean, it's a fun swim. Here, it's not so bad. It's a good place. It's not like the waves are not big and strong, but they are continuous. So you can't just like float in the water. When I was in Boracay in the Philippines, that water was very calm. So it was good to go out and just, kind of relax and enjoy that. Here, there's a little bit more wave action that slamming into you. So, but that's fine. It's not so bad. In Mui Ne, I found it to be a little too rough for swimming. It was like I went out and I remember the waves slamming into me like every 2 seconds, like wave, wave, wave. It was okay, but I think it's more for water sports than it is for enjoying the ocean, like for a swim. But that's my take on it. Thank you, Christina. I've been doing that a lot. I have 14. I guess people don't hate it because now I have 14 people watching. So I'm gonna ramble on like Led Zeppelin. Where are we with the comments here? Not here. Thank you, Christina. I'm glad you enjoy it. Lisha grew up speaking Chinese and learned German in Germany. Oh, wow, cool. So do you speak German at a native level? Or like, did you learn it when you were young? Ricardo. Hello, Ricardo. Thanks for joining. Nice to meet you. What's the best TV documentaries to improve? Wish I had an answer for you. I have no idea. But although I can't tell you the best documentaries because I'm not an expert on documentaries, I can tell you that whatever, I mean, the best language learning videos, it depends on the person. Ideally, but this is very rare to be able to find this, but ideally, you want something that you know 95% or 98% of what is being said. And 2 or 5 or 10, 2 or 5 or 10% you don't know. And those words you have to look up. So the thing with English, a lot of students seem to ignore is a lot of I've been planning on doing videos about exactly this because I kind of want to give the student, I want to give trouble to some students because what I feel is most students are always looking to learn something new. Every time they get on YouTube, they're looking for a lesson to learn something new. And then they move on to the next new thing. And that's all they do is they learn something new, learn something new, learn something new, learn something new, and they never use what they've learned. I don't mean practice or study. I mean just using it, right? So if you know vocabulary and grammar, if you learn it one time, you haven't mastered it, you've just learned about it. I can't even say you've learned it, you've learned about it. It's very easy. You still don't know how to use it properly and in different situations. You've only heard how to use it in 1 or 2, examples. That's not a complete picture, right? That doesn't teach you the nuance and the right context in which you can use it and what it, how it changes slightly. So when people learn something new for the first time, they haven't learned it, but a lot of students feel that they have, and they move to the next thing, and they move to the next thing, and they move to the next thing. And it's really bad because they feel like they're learning a lot, but they're not really, because by doing that and moving to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, they forget what they learned, and they didn't ever really learn it well to begin with. The best way to learn a language is when you learn something, it's great, but you got to keep hearing it. You got to keep repeating it. You got to keep using it many, 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 many times before really mastering that, even if it's just a word, something. It depends on the word. I mean, you don't, the word mouse, for example, you don't need to hear this word in 10 different contexts. But some words, it really is required to hear it many, many, many times before you get a true understanding of, and remember the word well. So all that, sorry, I'm rambling again, but all that to say, the best thing to watch, right? Because you need a lot of input to learn a language. The best thing to watch is something where you understand most of it, because that is reinforcing what you do know. It's giving you, the same vocabulary and grammar over and over and over again to really reinforce your understanding, to give you different context, to think about the same ideas, etc. So if you should understand, 80, 90, 95% of what's being said, and 5 or 10% is new or not very well understood. And you can look up those words. Really, I think most students, I think 99% of students really underestimate how much input they need. You need so much input to learn a language. It's crazy. Like, it's every day, every day, not 2 minutes, not 5 minutes, not 20 minutes. I mean, hours every day. You have to be using the language to live your life. So watching the news, to actually hear the news, not for English practice. So that's my key takeaway here. Students who want to learn a language well need to use the language, not only practice, not only study, but to actually stop thinking about studying and practicing it and actually use it. Watch the news to learn the news, not to practice English. You watch it in English to practice English, but you're watching the news to learn the news. If you're not interested in news, then don't watch the news. Does that make sense? I need to do it. I've talked about this in other videos before, but I think it's a good reminder. Maybe I will do another one at some point. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's a long answer to say which documentaries? I don't know. I'm sorry. But whatever documentary that, if there are some words that you don't understand, then that's good for learning new words. The part you do understand, don't ignore that, because that is very, very good for reinforcing what you already know and to give you, a better feel for how it's used and when it's used and in what context. So just watch and listen to as much English as you possibly can, no matter what. If it's the only thing I would say is try to avoid things where you understand only 10%, because you'll give up very quickly. It's boring because you understand almost nothing. So for those things, it's very difficult to stay interested. And so I would say maybe avoid that. Try to find things that you understand, 50, 60, 70, 80%, and keep watching that kind of thing. And just watch hours. Listen to English for hours a day, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. So that's my advice. And you have to do it. Otherwise, people who don't do that never become very good at English. They become okay. They learn a few phrases and they can communicate, but they don't become good at English or any language, really. That's what it takes. Even native speakers, we read, listen, write, and read, listen, and speak English every day, the whole day. We still make mistakes. So, and we still, there are many words that we don't know. So, and you too, right? Think of your native language. You operate in that language all day, every day, and you're still probably not a grammar expert. You don't know every word. There's a lot of vocabulary you don't know. It's the same thing in English, right? So that's for everybody. Okay, so I'm going to catch up on comments here. I'm sorry, I kind of took a my throat is getting dry here. I'm going to have to stop the live stream soon. Christina, you love children's books. It's more than love reading to children. Yeah, okay. So see, I mean, if you love children's books, then that's great. For me, I couldn't get into it, but it's different what you're explaining there. Oh, that's so sweet. If you were an angel, you bring books to all children and read them to them. That's really nice. The food here, some is spicy, some is not. Not all foods here are spicy. Some of them are, though. You know, to be honest, I'm not an expert on Vietnamese food. A lot of the food here is, you know, soups. And I'm not really a big soup guy. I like a soup sometimes, but I don't eat a lot of soup. So I don't eat Vietnamese food every day, or yeah, not even close to every day. But occasionally, every once in a while, I have Vietnamese food, and it's all been quite good. So no complaints. And best of all, you know, you're not limited to one type of food. There are all types of foods available. So you can have Vietnamese, you can have Thai, Italian, American, French. I haven't seen any Chinese food restaurants. They must have Chinese. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's Chinese food restaurants. I'm sure there must be. Did I say Mexican? Yes, there's Mexican. You can get Japanese. You can get what else? Indian. You can get anyway. Pretty much any kind of food you want is available here. Yes, that's a good idea. Absolutely. Read to your kids. That's it. It's the same principle, right? The more language they hear, the faster they're going to pick it up, and the better they will master it. And it's the same thing with English learners or learners of any language. You know, I always get so frustrated when I meet students who don't do anything in the language they're trying to learn. Like, you're not going to learn the language that way. So yeah, I agree. You know, read to your kids, even when they're too young, because they're listening. They're getting the sounds for the pronunciation first. That's the first building block. And then the words, the vocabulary is very, very important, of course. Korean's Christmas is for couples. Oh, so it's the same thing in Korea, same as Japan. Wake me up on the 26th. That's funny. Okan, did I pronounce that correctly? Hello, Okan. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Christina. That's very nice. I appreciate that. I could use more subscribers. I don't seem to get a lot of exposure on YouTube for some reason. I feel like I'm growing very, very slowly, too slowly. So any help is great. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Okan. Yes, I hope it's good practice for you. Thanks, Fish. Am I supposed to pronounce your name, Fish? Oh, okay, I can read it. I got my translator. Chen Yu. Chen Yu? Is that right? Do I teach English via Zoom? Not recently, no. I used to teach on Skype years ago. I haven't done any private lessons. And the reason is because usually people think I'm too expensive, because I think a lot of students Well, it depends where you come from too, right? Like some students come from places where, you know, paying $25 an hour is just not something that they're able to do. So for some of my viewers, it's just not affordable. And then you've got some students who they can afford it, but they just don't think it's worthwhile to pay that kind of money. And to be honest, you know what? This brings up another idea. I've got this video that I want to do, and the title would be something like, do you really need a teacher? Or are you wasting your money on your teacher? Because my answer to this, I don't want to get into it here too much, but just because it's a whole video on its own. People who study English could effectively use a teacher. It is worth having a teacher, but not any teacher. You have to have the right, a teacher who knows how to teach you without wasting your time and your money. So I want to do a video about that. And I'm sure there's going to be other teachers who are going to completely disagree with me, because the fact is 99% of teachers are wasting your time. They're wasting your time, they're wasting your money. And I find that to be kind of sad and unnecessary. But so anyway, to answer your question, do I teach over Zoom? I used to teach on Skype every once in a while, whenever I had students who requested and paid my rates. But recently I have not been looking for students. But Christina, you're an English speaker, right? You're a native speaker, aren't you? You're not watching this for English practice, or are you? I don't know. Maybe Christina Honeycutt is, I mean, I assumed if you're in Alabama, your English would already be really, really good. Okay, so you are. Good tips, man. What is? My name is Syl, S-Y-L, S-Y-L. I can type it. What am I doing? I'm doing this. Oh, there. That's my name. I'm Syl. Duolingo. I know the name. I don't know how it works. Really, any language lessons are good if you're learning with them. It depends on the person, right? Some people will work better with one language program. Some people will work better with another. But really, the big key is once you have those basics, once you understand a certain level, once you get beyond the beginner level, you have to go out and, use English every day. Watch TV, watch YouTube. Excuse me. Well, watch and listen, right? Watch and listen to English on TV, on YouTube, on the radio, and read. Read a ton and listen to a ton. Listening is good for, obviously, your listening, and reading is a fantastic way to learn new vocabulary. And also new grammar, right? Because if you're reading, you can take your time. You can go over it again many, many times. So reading, listening, it's all important. Writing is good for helping you generate the English, and speaking, of course. Some people say, I don't have anybody to speak to. That's okay. You can talk to yourself. I do. And I'm not even practicing English. So, that's the thing. English lessons are good, but they should only be, 10, 15, or 20% of your English, really. Lessons are just to help you to understand a grammar, right? And to understand the vocabulary that's being used in real life. So if you're not doing the real life stuff, what's the point? Why learn the grammar? What are you learning English for? What's learning English just to learn English is not a good reason to learn English. You want to understand what you're hearing in the real world, what you're reading in the real world. That's the only purpose to have to learn a language, right? Is so that you can understand it. Hello, Cajun. Nice to meet you. Yeah, it seems a few people like Duolingo. Thank you, Christina. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. Yes, my name is, it's actually my full name. That's short. My full name is this. It's Sylvain, and it's a French name because my parents grew up speaking French in a small French town in Canada. So they named the kids French names. Mine is Sylvain, which nobody can pronounce properly, so I just say Syl. A lot of people think it's Sylvester, but it's not. It's Sylvain. Yeah, Cajun, I get that. I understand. It's more difficult if you don't, if you don't go outside and hear English and see English everywhere. Like if you lived in somewhere in Canada or in the United States or England or Australia, learning English would be so much easier for you because every time you go outside, you hear it, you see it. You turn on TV, but even though it's more difficult, it's not, it's not impossible. You can, of course, using YouTube, anything on the internet. If you can find it in, I think Cajun, I'm going to guess Korean. So if you can find it in Korean, you can find it in English. There's nothing that you can find in another language that you can't find in English. So everything you want to read, if you want to read the news, you can read it in English. You can listen to it in English for everything. So the more you do that, the better you'll get at Nice to meet you too, Okan. Been to many places. Yeah, is that for me? Not really. Maybe 11 countries, I think. 11 or 12, something like that. It's not that many places, really. Not that many. I mean, there's still so many more places I'd love to go. Where have I been in my life? I've been to... Hey, Edson, nice to meet you. Edson from Brazil. Bom dia. Bom dia. I know that's hello in Portuguese. Yeah. I mean, you know what, Christina, that's an interesting thing you point out. And I've got so many video ideas on the back burner that I'm reminded of through this live stream. You bring up a good point. One which is pronouncing words the way they are supposed to be pronounced. And that's a tricky topic, actually. My throat's starting to hurt. I'm gonna have to stop talking. the tricky topic, or the tricky thing with that is, if you're speaking a language and the sounds of that language don't allow you to pronounce a word properly, then you have no choice, really, right? So I understand that people who speak English only, they can't pronounce my name. They can't hear the pronunciation. Sylvain. When I say Sylvain with a French accent, English people cannot hear that the L is different. It's not Sylvain, it's Syl. In French, the L is clear. And the vein, it's a nasal, it's not vein. And so English people usually pronounce my name Sylvain, which is considerably different, really, but understandable, because in English, you don't really have nasalized vowels. Yes, some people speak with a nasal sound, but in English, there's no difference between a nasal pronunciation and a non-nasal pronunciation. The meaning is the same, right? If you say whatever, ha or ha, meaning is the same, even though the pronunciation is different. So, and then sometimes, like this one time last summer, I was talking to a guy here about food, and I said something like, yeah, you know, I've eaten pho. And he said, oh, it's not pho, it's pho. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. I understand. But it's spelled PHO. So if you go, you know, anywhere in Canada or the US, and you ask 100 people to read this word, 99 of them, well, maybe it's 96, I don't know what the actual number, but most people are going to look at that and they don't know what it is. Excuse me. Maybe the younger, maybe under 30 are more aware of international cuisine. I don't know. So I don't know, maybe the percentage would be a little bit, you know, lower, but I think overall, you get a lot of people who don't know what pho is, or pho, whatever you want to say. They don't know what it is. So they don't know by reading the word that it's not pronounced pho. So most people are going to look at this and they're going to go, oh, pho, what's pho? And so that's one reason I say pho. The other reason, which I thought was funny, and I had the idea to do a video about this as well, is he's like, oh, it's not pho, it's pho. And it took everything in me to stop myself from saying, no, idiot, if you're going to correct me, at least be correct. Because it's not pho either. And I don't speak Vietnamese, so my accent is not very good at all, and I know that. But a closer, more accurate pronunciation, which I learned in 2013, but why would I ever use it? The way that a native a native Vietnamese person would pronounce it would be close to, not identical, but close to pho. Now, I'm not Vietnamese, so my accent is not nearly perfect, but that's much closer. So pho is almost like a native speaker's pronunciation. Fa is not the same thing. Fa, pho, and even in Vietnamese you have kind of a, you know, a little bit of a thing, right? Which I, again, don't know if I'm doing it right. So really, yeah, I just noticed Christina's message there. F-U-H. If you really want to be as accurate as you can be with an English accent, then F-U-H would be as close as it gets. So yeah, it's not faux, but it's also not fa. And people say fa. I hear it all the time. It's not fa. It's fa, fa. So, and really, you know, I mean, like people don't say, oh, I'd love to go to France to visit, to go to, you know, I would love to see the Eiffel Tower in Paris. People don't say that. They say Paris. So you have to stop and think. Do I want to pronounce the word as close as it's possible to pronounce in the native language? Or do I just want to pronounce it so that most people understand what I'm saying? And sometimes that overlaps, right? So that's a difficult one. And I understand your issue, Christina, because it's like, when do you say it like everybody else would say it? And when do you say it more correctly? And because I spent so much time in Japan, another example. So I spent so much time in Japan, a lot of words that I learned, I actually learned for the first time in Japanese. So I didn't even know how foreigners, I mean, non-Japanese, how English people would pronounce those words. And I remember when the Olympics were in Nagano, I was talking to a friend and he would say, oh, so the Olympics are in Japan this year. Are you going to go to Nagano? And I'm like, what, where? And he said, Nagano. And I literally could not understand what he was talking about. It's just, my head did not connect. And of course, Olympics, I'm like, okay, Olympics. Like, oh, and I started to laugh, not at him, but more at myself, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. He was saying Nagano, and in my mind, all I'd heard from Japanese people was Nagano, Nagano. And so, or that's my attempt at a Japanese pronunciation. And it took me a minute to connect the two and go, oh, Nagano equals Nagano. And you know, the other one, like Tokyo, right? English people say Tokyo. How many people say Tokyo, right? That's the actual Japanese pronunciation, Tokyo. So, you know, if I go around going, oh, are you going to go to Tokyo? People are going to be like, what? Why are you saying it so weird? So I think there are times when you can pronounce it, you know, the way everybody else does. And then there are times you can pronounce it as it should be pronounced. But yeah, you're right. People will see you as uppity. But yeah, the worst is when I find when people correct you on your pronunciation and they are in fact not correct. If you want to, you know, if you want to be, if you want to correct other people, at least be sure that you're correct, at the very least. You know, then you're just a snob, but at least you're not stupid. Like this guy who corrected me, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not right either. That's not right. That's not right. That's wrong. So anyway, okay, I have some catching up to do here. Iraq. Yeah, I haven't heard people say Iraq for a long time now, or Iran. Yeah, especially the last president. China. Well, yeah, with names, you know, just going to make a quick comment on the names. I remember when I was younger, especially. And I would tell people my name is Sylvain. I got so many people asking me, oh, what is that in English? I'd say, Sylvain. Like, my name doesn't change. And they go, no, 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 no. Like, for example, some people seem to be under the impression that there are name translations, right? What's one example? Like when I was a kid, I used to hear how Etienne in French was Steve in English. What? Where'd you get that? And so they'd ask me, what's Sylvain in English? I'm like, Sylvain. A name is a name. Like, oh, no, is it Sylvester? No, it's not Sylvester, because in French, Sylvestre is Sylvester. So I don't have an English equivalent. I mean, you can pronounce it with English sounds. I guess that makes it English. But just like, you know, you have in French, Roger, which in English would be Roger. But you're not changing the fundamental name, you're just changing the pronunciation to fit the typical reading of that language. Because ER in French is always, you know, almost always read as E, Roger. And in English, ER is pronounced Roger. Excuse me. So that kind of makes sense. You're going by the reading of the letters, at the very least. And so, although you could say Roger or Roger in English, I mean, that would fit the English sounds. It just doesn't look that way when you read it. Same thing with faux, right? So I can understand changing the pronunciation because of that. But a lot of people ask me for my name translation in English. Like, there's no translation. My name is my name. A person's name is a person's name, right? And that's it. Like, if you can pronounce it correctly, like if it was Roger, for example, that might be a bit weird, right? So in English, let's say you knew a guy called Roger, but his name was actually, because he's French, his name is actually Roger. And it might be a little bit weird to go around calling him a Roger if you only speak English. But what about a name like mine, where the name really isn't a different, like, there's nobody called Sylvain outside of French speakers. That's either, in French, there are people called Roger, and in English, there are people called Roger, right? Those English people don't even speak French. They have Roger. And in French, people who don't speak English, they have Roger. But with Sylvain, that doesn't exist outside of French. So maybe it wouldn't be weird, you know, to call me Sylvain. Like, if you're like, oh yeah, the other day I was talking to Sylvain, and like, maybe that wouldn't be weird, because my name is not in any form English. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it anyway. Well, yeah, of course. If you only ever hear words I mean, faux. How many people would even guess that it should be pronounced pho, right? It's okay to be a nerd. I have probably 0 cool points accumulated in my life, but a few nerd points here and there. Okan, no, I've never been to Turkey before. Would love to go, though. It seems, yeah, so many countries I still would love to go to. And once we can travel again, I fully plan to. So I do hope to go to Turkey one day. Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. Yeah, people do not like being corrected. That is for sure. Yes, the N, it's in French, when you have like a vowel and an N, the word ends in N, the N is never pronounced. It's just an indication to nasalize the preceding vowel sound. So for me, and I'm using French Canadian accent, Sylvain. If I went to France, they would pronounce it more like Sylvain, Sylvain. And for me, French Canadian is more like Sylvain. So it's like A, right? No N, no, A, A. It's just nasalizing the A sound. A. See how my tongue is not moving, is not changing shapes. A. So there's just a little movement when I start the sound, but the tongue is in the same position. So if you say A, nasalize that sound, you have A. So it's that easy. Simple, right? Yes, definitely Turkey's on my list of places to go. Honestly, there's so many, like, I'd love to just go everywhere, just everywhere. I mean, I think it's sad that some countries you can't go to, like North Korea, for example. You know, there's a lot of places that are just too dangerous to go to. You'd be kind of crazy to go there, or just it would be very risky. You'd get in a lot of trouble or get killed. And it's too bad, because I'd love to go everywhere, like just everywhere. I'd love to visit every single country in the world if I could. I've never been to South America, would love to go there. I've never been to Central America. I've never been anywhere but Canada, America, and Mexico. America, United States. Canada, United States, Mexico, on that whole America's continent. So I'd love to go to South America, Central America, Caribbean, never been there. You know, Africa, would love to visit throughout Africa, right? From the south to the north, east, west. India, right? All the Middle East, all of Asia, Russia, all the European countries. I mean, it's countless, just countless. Yes, North Korea would be challenging. Although they allow some people in sometimes. I don't know how you get to be on that list, but they do allow people in at times. So that's cool. I think my throat is starting to hurt. I think I'm gonna have to end the live stream soon. Yeah, and once you get bitten by the travel bug, that's it. You're done. You're done. It's terrible, really. I can't imagine just staying in one place and having, you know, almost no opportunity to travel again. That's my nightmare. So, well, I think I'm going to have to, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be abrupt. And thank you everyone for joining me on this and letting me rant and ramble for more than 2 hours. Most of all, thank you to everyone who interacted with me, left messages and asked questions and gave me something to talk about. Really appreciate that. In the future, I hope people interact more. I want you to use your English. Yes, it's typing, it's not speaking, but it still helps. The whole point is to use English, interact in real life for real communication. So, yeah, looking forward to more of this in the future. I think this is fun. I'm going to do more of these. I hope more and more people enjoy it and join as well. I just need to find that first topic to start talking about. I need people to ask me questions and to start the conversation along with me. And then I get a roll on. It would be awesome if, if it was possible to select a user to like ask a question with voice, to have some kind of voice interaction, because it is a bit lonely, even though I'm getting messages. I'm the only one talking, right? So it's a bit weird, but I guess I'll get used to it. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you joining me. It was nice to meet everyone. Don't get angry if I have a bad memory. So if I don't remember your name, or if I don't remember where you're from in the next one, that's not you, that's me, that's my bad memory. So don't be hurt by that, don't be offended, okay? Thank you, thanks for joining, Christina. And Okan and Mahmoud, who else is still on? You guys have been on for a long time. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Good. I hope I can continue to do that next time too. Thank you. Oh, Alicia too. Yes, thank you. You guys too. Have a good weekend. Have a good Saturday. I know wherever you are, it's earlier in the day than it is for me here. So everybody have a great Saturday and Sunday. Have a good weekend, and I will try to do this more often. So hope to see you again soon. Maybe I don't know when. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, I don't know. So anyway, thanks guys. I really appreciate it, and I had fun. So I'll see you again next time. Bye. I just have to figure out how to hang up this. Thank you, Christina. You too. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm really hanging up now.